Money has been tight these past few weeks, so my weekly visits to the theater has been a bit sparse. Not to say that my current job doesn't pay me enough, it does, but not as much as my previous job had. However, to rectify this problem, I designed a plan that I could possibly give me a little cash on the side.
Oh yeah, I bet you say that to other girls. You want me to do what?
Maybe I should just ask my boss for a raise.
You sick bastard!
Yeah.
Right here. Let's go.
Hi, Faceless here, and despite my shortcomings in the financial department, I did scrape enough to watch this next film, and let me tell you, there was no way I was going to miss this one. Justice League. The plot simply goes like this. Dark forces from another world led by the film's villain Steppenwolf are searching for these powerful cubes that will basically open a floodgate of evil onto our world. Knowing that this will bring on death and destruction, Batman and Wonder Woman begin to recruit metahumans or superheroes to prevent this dark invasion. And that's the movie in a nutshell. Let me start with what I thought was bad with this film. Some, if not most, of the CGI effects in this film wasn't really all that great. To me, it looked like they really rushed through the process and forgot a step or two in the rendering department. Even on Superman, yes, spoilers, Superman is back. Honestly, are you really surprised? Anyway, some of you may have heard, due to another movie commitment, Henry Cavill could not shave his mustache for the film's reshots. So the effects artists did their best by giving him a CGI shave. Now because I knew this information, I could tell which shots had rendered the mustache out. Admittedly so, it wasn't too bad, but for people that didn't know what was going on behind the scenes, even said that there was something off with Soup's face. In my opinion, I don't think they should have bothered removing the dirt off his lip. I mean, Superman with a mustache? How bad can that be? Okay, never mind. For the other effects that worked were really good. It was an orgasm for the eyes. However, you can tell that they needed to put a little bit more work to it. I also noticed that the film's editing did suffer. Now, we all heard that Zack Snyder stepped down as director due to a personal tragedy, which is perfectly understandable. This led to Joss Whedon taking the reins during post-production, and to even the most casual moviegoer, you can tell that the story was a bit disjointed. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't that distracting. I mean, the pacing was fair, but I couldn't help but feel that some of the scenes were a little rushed. And the last thing I didn't really like about this film was Steppenwolf. His motivations were clear-cut, and he was just the main baddie that wanted to pave way for a bigger invasion. To be honest, as villains go, he didn't bring anything new to the table. To me, he just felt like a throwaway villain, a villain that you know that the heroes will prevail over no matter what he threw at them. And this is where I will go as far as saying that that's not the movie's fault. It's this little oversaturation of superhero movies that we've gotten this past decade. The so-called perilous situation that we have in almost every superhero movie is something that the audience has grown numb over. Oh look, someone's taken over the world. Yeah, we've seen that before. But enough about me harping on the bad things, let's talk about what I liked about this film. The humor in this film was a breath of fresh air compared to the other DCEU movies they had put out. Even Batman, whose other incarnations have been a no-nonsense brooding character, had his own sense of humor that actually made me laugh. I mean, they didn't overplay it too much, but the fact that he's the only superhero that doesn't have superpowers, it was kind of poked fun at. But the one who really stole the show as far as humor is the Flash, played by Ezra Miller. Having him be the comic relief of the team was a real treat. It made you look forward to what he was going to do or say next. I did love how they concentrated on the heroes themselves. The filmmakers were smart in giving each one of them equal amount of screen time, giving us enough to know their backstory, particularly the Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg. Speaking of Cyborg, they did this hero justice. No pun intended. I never was much of a fan of him, and to hear that he was going to be part of the Justice League in this universe, I was kinda on the fence. But the more I got to know this version of the character, the more I started to like him. Easily one of the best additions to the team in my opinion. This balance among the heroes made it hard for me to pick the least favorite of the team. If anything, I loved them all. And for the last thing that I really liked about this film is that they got Superman right. In the past two movies, we've gotten a version of Superman that has been somewhat emo and just sad all the time. I loved Man of Steel, but let's face it, the man was a downer. And it seemed like no matter what he did to save lives or averting disaster, it just felt depressing. Almost as if he just didn't want to be Superman. This time around, he actually smiled. He had his own sense of humor, and you got the sense that he loved being the Man of Steel. I know this may sound corny, but at one point during the last battle, he stood back and said, "Civilians are in trouble," and then flew off like a true Boy Scout that we all know and love. If you had somewhat enjoyed the DCEU thus far, then I recommend seeing this film in the theaters as soon as you can. However, for everyone else, the casual moviegoer, my final rating for this film is a C+. Folks, I really enjoyed this movie despite its flaws, and I'm probably going to watch it again when it comes out on video. Well, this wraps up this episode. If you've seen Justice League, let me know what you thought in the comments below. But until then, this is Faceless, signing off.
Right here. Let's go.
Yeah, boss, I played along with your schemes no matter what. But this time, this is where my dignity draws the line. I'm out.
Come on, it isn't that bad.
You can go f*** yourself, boss.
Now that's hurtful, RJ.
Peanut butter disaster.